Hello everyone. Today I'm going to continue with the Dangerous People series that I've been doing. Had a few requests actually about it. Today's one is one that I had put off doing because it's a tricky one, and as you hear, you'll understand why it's a tricky one. Now, to give you some insight as to what led up to this. So I was in Canterbury, and I lost the job at the wine place because of the stalker. Now, at that point, I'd managed to get a flat. For those of you that aren't familiar with the area, Canterbury is very expensive. So there was no way that I could afford a flat on my own. I had to share with someone, and I was very limited as to who I could do that with. And unfortunately, the only person that was in need of somewhere else to live that I could do it with essentially was the guy that had let me stay occasionally at the Predator guy. I don't mean Predator as in the Arnold Schwarzenegger film. That would have been far more entertaining. This was just tragic. However, um, this guy, as I've mentioned before, he was just awful, truly awful, and I was very limited as to who I could share with, as I said. So unfortunately, it was needs must. I didn't want to continue to be in a vehicle or on the streets, so I bit the bullet and decided to share a property with him. And it was hell, quite frankly. Tracked everything I did. As I told you before, my bank cards had already gone missing. He'd opened another account, so he was tracking my spending. My mobile phone broke, so he went and got another phone on contract, so he could just track everything I did. And I'd come in and quizzed as to where I'd been, and it was hell. And I couldn't tolerate being there anymore because I knew eventually I was going to flip, and that's not good for me. It really isn't, and it really wouldn't have been good for him. And I don't want to do that to myself. I really don't. It's not for his sake; it's for my sake. I don't want to do it to me. So I knew that I couldn't keep the property because obviously I'd lost the job and I couldn't afford to pay rent. Now, I'd been chatting with a subscriber. I hadn't been chatting with them particularly long, but I've been chatting with them, and they offered me to go and stay theirs, which was in Bournemouth, Bournemouth Pool area. And as I've mentioned before, I've always been very reluctant to just dive straight in when people offer me that because you don't know them. What I found is people that are reckless like that, which I'm sorry, but when you're contacting a stranger off the internet and saying, come live at mine, that is reckless, yeah. People that are reckless normally have some sort of underlying issues. But anyway, I needed to get out of Canterbury. It wasn't good for me. There's nothing there for me. And the situation that I was in, if I'd stayed at that flat, it wasn't going to end well. So I just wanted to get away. The offer came, so I took it. So I got to Bournemouth, Pool, sorry, and I got to their property, and they've answered the door and they're wearing a mask, and they've requested that I wear a mask. I'm like, okay. And yeah, you had to wear a mask the whole time you were in this property. This person, from what I noticed from me, I walked through the door, they were an obsessive hoarder. There was just stuff stacked everywhere. And we'd had discussions about mental health prior to this, and they'd said about things that they were afflicted with, the agoraphobic. I can't remember. Essentially, this is all self-diagnosed, okay, and that I've got no time for that. I really haven't. And but yet to the point where they got a blue badge. They weren't physically disabled in any way, shape, or form. They've got a blue badge. mobility allowance, you know, the whole 9 yards with benefits. It astounds me, you know what I mean? I suffered with a prolapse vertebrae. I was told to get on with it. I was struggling with mental health all my life. You know? People just can come along and say, yeah, I think I've got this. And they just get everything thrown at them. Anyway, off topic. How they had a carer. Their friend was their registered carer. So, I'll say obsessive hoarder, having to wear masks in the property. When I went out with them, we'd have to go in a very big van in case they needed to get in the back to calm down because of their agoraphobia, and they'd wear ear defenders, and it was humorous to see. Now clearly they did have mental health issues, definitely, but not the ones that they said they had. And just to go on a little tangent here, I sort of discussed with them about me having EUPD, which is something I've struggled with all my life. Never knew I had it, and I was diagnosed by a professional. Okay, it's not something that I wanted. Yeah, when they explained to me what it was and the things that have happened in my life, it made sense. Yeah, and it's something that I've learned to manage and I've learned to deal with because I can recognise it now. And I remember discussing this with them, and they said to me, "Oh yeah, I think I've got that," and I'm on the verge of blowing my top here because, like I've just explained, I have battled this all of my life, yeah, and it is not something that I want to have. And a professional diagnosed me. I didn't go and read something on the internet and diagnose myself. So when someone self-diagnoses with something that I've struggled with all my life, I find that really insulting, and I think anyone else would. Now it was strange at this place, and there'd sort of been this pretense of that I'd go there, and you know we were going to sort of think of a strategy to get me back on my feet, doing my gas and everything, you know, the GoFundMe and everything. And ultimately, they none of this came through. It was me that ended up starting a GoFundMe because I realised they would excuse the term, full of shit. Yeah. And what ended up finishing it for me staying there was they'd go on Facebook and these free sites show people giving stuff away, and they would, like I say, they were a compulsive hoarder, and they'd seen I was going, I can't remember what it was I was going to do, and obviously I had a big estate car at the time, and they'd seen some dining chairs, and they asked if I could go and get them. Now, if I was to go and get these dining, I'd be enabling this person, wouldn't I? Let's face it, right? So, as delicately as I could, I said, "Where are you going to put them?" It's a valid point because there is no space in this property whatsoever. It is stacked to the rafters with crap. Okay, it's the only way I can put it, just crap, right? So that was the point I made. Where are you going to put them? And I then made the statement of, do you not think it would be better to let someone who needs them have them? That's a very reasonable thing to say, I personally feel. They were very insulted by this. Very, very insulted. And beyond, after this, the atmosphere became very frosty. Now, what also caused an issue was they had a gas leak. I noticed it the minute I walked through the door. It's something I've done all my life, and it's that you can't mistake that smell. So I was like, "You've got a gas leak," and I managed to get hold of a nanometer, which is how you test for gas leaks via the gas meter. And yeah, lo and behold, you know, there is a leak, and I've narrowed it down to, in the dining room there used to be a gas fire. The gas fire had been removed, the pipework had been capped off, and obviously the leak would have been on the historic cast iron pipework. Very common, iron pipework rusts and it leaks, yeah. And I explained to them how you would go about resolving this issue, because they ultimately the gas should be turned off. It's not only a danger to them, it's a danger to their neighbours, but you know they wouldn't have that. So the best thing I could do was, you know, make sure that door was closed, the windows was open, and then when we weren't in the property, the gas be turned off, yeah, because they were just, I say, reckless. I mean, you've got a gas leak. It's flammable. There should be no if nor buts here, but they wouldn't have it. So I'm explaining to them how you would resolve this. So I won't go too technical for you, but the wall where the gas meter was, which is where your gas supply would come in, was the same wall that the gas boiler was on. The gas boiler was the only gas appliance in the property. Where this gas fire had been removed, that was just a redundant piece of pipework. So I was explaining you don't trace and repair a bit of pipework like that, because the amount of work involved, it would be far simpler just to run a new gas supply from the meter along that wall to the boiler. You could do it in a couple of hours, wouldn't cost a great deal of money. I don't know, I want it fixed. I'm explaining to them, yeah, but I've got to pinpoint exactly where that leak is, which means I'm going to have to lift all of your wood flooring, everything in that dining room, because they're a compulsive hoarder, is going to have to come out so I can get the floor up. I'm then going to have to find the bit of pipework that's leaking, and if I can repair it. It might be beyond repair, and you've gone through all of this, and you're still going to have to do what I've said in the first place. I've done this all my life, right? So I know what I'm talking about. And they really insulted me at this point, because I think I'll get a second opinion. So I thought, why effing ask me in the first place, right? So they went and got their second opinion, and lo and behold, said exactly the same as me. Wouldn't even waste my time trying to repair it. I'd just run a new supply. And I was just like, there you go. And like I say, that was the cherry on the icing, with me calling them sort of out about the hoarding, not willing to enable them. And that it was very apparent that I couldn't stay. I couldn't want to stay there any longer. It was not good for me having to walk around in a bloody mask, like, because of COVID. Like, okay, yeah, COVID is very real, okay, and it's very sad, how it's affected people, but the pandemic had well and truly passed at this point, yeah. And if you're sharing a house with people and you're all in the same spaces, turning on the same light switches, using the same door handles, a mask isn't going to make a blind bit of difference, in my opinion. I really don't think it is, right? So there was that, and I say there was the hoarding, and things like they had a solar system installed, yeah, which again I won't go too technical, but we live in the UK. Solar, it ain't ever going to work, right? And they'd read bits and pieces on the internet, and that they considered themselves an expert in everything, and they decided to use these snippets of information to design their own system, which used batteries and inverters, and it didn't work, was the bottom line of it, yeah. But they've spent tens of thousands of pounds doing it now, so they're adamant that they're going to use it. So you can't use the kettle, because the batteries can't handle the load of a kettle, because you've got to wait for the solar to have charged the batteries enough to be able to use appliances other than lights. I kid you not, right? So if you wanted to make a cup of tea, you'd have to heat the water up in the microwave, yeah? And I'm trying to explain. It's a 1,000-watt microwave. You're turning it on for 3 minutes to heat a cup of water. The kettle was 2,000 watts. I could turn it on for 30 seconds. It uses less energy. But no, they know more. They know better. They know better than physics. This is just how you're having to deal with. And they had, like I say, their friend was their carer, and they were an absolute bully to this person. It was horrible. They were just utterly vile to this person. I don't know how this guy put up with it. I really don't. But like I say, this person wasn't. Well, they were a danger to me the whole time. There was gas leaking, but they were a huge danger to themselves. Like I say, there's the gas leak. There's the fact they've been reckless and they've just brought a person from the internet to come stay at their house. There's the obsessive hoarding. So there's fire risks everywhere in this property. And then there's these self-diagnosed mental illnesses. You can't make this stuff up. You really can't. And that was one of the final times beyond Adam that I ever agreed, when someone offered me somewhere to stay, that I ever took them up on that offer, other than the brothel, which is another story which you can see. Yeah, it's, like I say, I use the term loosely, but people that are normal, that have got their shit together, they don't let complete strangers come and live in their homes. It's only people that are very reckless, and these people that are very reckless, like I say, they've normally got profound issues. And I can look back on it and I can laugh now. I really can, because what else can I do? But it's sad, it really is. But it also goes to show the state of our benefit system. The fact that there's people that have actually got profound physical disabilities that are just told to get on with it. And then there's people that just decide that they've got something and they're given a vehicle allowance, a blue badge, higher rate disability, everything. I mean, essentially they're getting nearly 30 grand a year. They'd have to, if they had a job, they'd have to be earning £30,000 a year plus to be getting the money they're getting for just saying they've got this, that, and the other. I don't understand it. I really don't. But again, that's not what this is about. So yeah, just want to share that one with you. There's more. There's so many more. Anyway, big love. We'll chat soon.